Welcome to the DGD podcast, the Georgia Bulldogs podcast for all of those damn good dogs out there. Robert Reynolds here and Koby Pierce Juan will be with us shortly. It is time to preview the South Carolina Gamecocks. Man, oh man. Koby, first off, welcome to the show.
How are you? Doing good?
We're doing good, pretty good, man. Doing good.
Good.
Listen, we saw 2 weeks of Georgia football, and now we move into the conference slate, right? Um, I think what a better fitting way to enter conference play than with South Carolina. If you're not familiar, obviously Saturday noon kickoff. If you're watching on TV, ESPN in Columbia, and you know what though, looking at the weather, the forecast has it where it's not going to be super scorching like we would think, right?
It's looking like you're going to avoid some of that Columbia, just like skin melting heat this weekend.
I think that's a big deal. I think it will, right? Because, listen, we'll talk more about the actual in depth preview, but nonetheless, I'm looking at it in a sense that, you know, it's not going to be as hot, right? Which, listen, typically Columbia is the hottest place on earth. Let's be honest, and you've been there, so you know. Um, with that being said, though, you look at a little bit cooler than expected, right? So you might not have to worry about the cramping as much. You would think. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I look at it like, and it's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But you look at the mixture, the perfect mixture for an upset like Texas had last week. Noon kickoff, it's hot, and you're kind of almost overlooking someone. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be hot, which is a big distraction you're going to miss out on. Still a noon kickoff, and then Kirby's not overlooking anybody. He's going to want to go put 50 on South Carolina if he can.
Yeah, we take a look at, right. Obviously, coming off of Samford game, right, 33-0 shutout, and honestly, it was a sloppy game. Really, could have been better, I should say, right. So to me, I look at it as thinking ahead. I guess I think you're going to see a fired up Georgia squad this Saturday, and that is not what you want to see if you're South Carolina. Period. Uh,
No, you definitely, there was definitely some sloppiness last week. The end of the day, you kind of got in, got out, beat the man that gave Kirby his first coaching job. Did it handedly. Lost AD to an ankle sprain, but other than that, got in and out healthy. And at the end of the day, that's all those games are for. I mean, we played like 79 different players. Like, it gives the young guys a chance, and you said it to me earlier this week. Is it fair to a fan who paid $75 to $100 for a ticket to watch a game like that? I mean, it's debatable. Is it necessary for your program to continue to grow and excel and be better at the end of the season? Of course, because it just gives backups, third string guys a chance to kind of play and shine.
I sit there and think about it, right? Like, I think you still see a lot of rotation even this week, right? And this will kind of easily ease us into our prediction here, right? I think you're going to still see more rotation along the see Michael be as productive as he's been in those first couple games. Obviously, true freshman got his first start against Oregon. Literally started the first snap. So the coaches value him tremendously for that matter, right? So far, he seems to be like a plug and play guy, right? You look at his ability to rush the quarterback, but also his ability to understand and identify things to the point where you can plug him in, and you don't necessarily have to worry about it so far, at least, that he's going to miss an assignment or two, right? Like, um, and as he'll get better in time, right? Let's just be honest there. But you look at, in my opinion, I think you look at guys like Nazir Stackhouse has been a pleasant surprise, right? We've wondered what it was going to be like. These guys stepping up, are they going to be able to do it? Who's going to do that? And it seems like they're really, while the numbers, statistically aren't the greatest, right, in regards to sacks, right? you also have to count, you counter that with what we've seen game plan wise from, the two offenses that we played. Listen, the way I look at it is this: it's been a situation where there's so many short passes and the quarterbacks are getting out of the ball out of their hands fast, extremely fast. Of course, your numbers from a sack statistic standpoint isn't going to be that pretty. It just won't. But what you're seeing is you're still seeing guys creating havoc, right? You've got fast linebackers and safeties for that matter plugging gaps, right? And that's important, right? But I think the key here for Sunday or Saturday, excuse me, Saturday's game is going to be interesting because you take a South Carolina team and their main deficiency is the offensive line, in my opinion. Right? They've got Spencer Rattler, Stogner, they've got Van, Dak Joyner, all these guys on the offensive side of the ball, but their offensive line is the one in question. And to me, in the SEC, that is not anywhere. That is the worst place to have a deficiency. What are your thoughts on that? I think it could get ugly quick. If that deficiency is exposed. What are your thoughts?
So back to what you're saying, at the end of the day, if you're a Georgia fan or if you're someone, a rival fan base, somebody in the national media, and you look and say, oh, through 2 games, Georgia only has 1 sack, like, because everybody's a statistics warrior. It's like you also should look up the average pass that Bo Nix threw the Oregon game was like 3.8 yards per attempt. Like, he's getting the ball out fast on short routes. I'm not sure where the guy at Samford stood in that, but you watch those games, you can tell that they're trying to nullify our defensive line because they know their offensive line can't handle it by throwing these short, predetermined routes. And don't be surprised if you see South Carolina do the same. If you are honest with yourself as a head coach and you line up and you go, okay, we have a bad offensive line, they have a really good defensive line and defensive ends. How can we not beat ourselves? It's like, okay, well, we don't need to be trying to spend 3.5, 4 seconds in the pocket, letting things develop downfield. We need to, run a lot of play action. We need to try to run the ball, run a lot of play action, and try to run really short, intermediate routes, whether it's in like wide receiver screen game or like swing passes or anything like that, and try to catch us out of position. Because I agree, you line up one-on-one, our D line versus their O line, it could be a long day to be Spencer Rattler.
Absolutely. As I go through the chat here, I'm having some technical difficulties here, but we'll still be able to read the chat here. So we've got Rouge, Joel Sanders, the 63-3 DGD. Listen, loving good fried chicken. I'm just saying chicken and biscuits, Beamer biscuits. I'm hearing it in the chat here. Landon Stratton says, would love to see South Carolina only play Sandstorm for the opening kickoff, Dawgs by 90. I love that energy. My goodness, I love that energy. Even Joel bringing out the big fluffy biscuits, man. Listen, it's bow time, but it won't be Saturday. It's going to be game over quick, in my opinion. Um, Rudes also says Rattler going to be turned into Rattler Chow Chow after that D line lands home, which kind of brings me into my point, right? What will Georgia have to do, right, to win this game Saturday? Koby, I'm gonna let you start off first. What are some keys to victory here for Georgia to win this game Saturday?
I want to start out a little shout out Landon Stratton. He played football here at Georgia too. He knows how it goes with the noise being pumped in at practice all week. Kirby's blasting Sandstorm at those fellas in the indoor, and it's not a fun. I mean, I feel for South Carolina fans because Sandstorm's just not that great. And then they have the rooster that crows after they score a touchdown.
I'm gonna have to mute Saturday because that rooster is the most obnoxious thing I've ever heard. Like, people can talk about the cowbells at Mississippi State. I genuinely believe that crow has got to be the most annoying damn thing in college football.
For sure, I would rather listen to the cowbells than the rooster, but we get to listen to both of them this year. We're at South Carolina and at Mississippi State later, so that'll.
You know what?
Stay tuned for a later show to talk about the cowbells.
More cowbell.
But
that's another side though. I'm looking at it this way. I would rather have someone take a nail, stick it in my ear, and just bang the hell out of it in my eardrum than have to hear that damn crow for 4 quarters. Just leaving that there. I'm
The
just saying.
nice thing is they only do it when they score. So odds are, I would say the maximum amount of times you'll have to hear the crow or the rooster will be maybe once.
We'll talk.
But
Well, now we'll save that for
yeah,
later in the show for sure.
but I
Um,
do think that to answer your question more directly, I still think, and this is going to sound Kirby smartish, it's not what we do to win the game. The only way we don't win the game is doing things to lose the game. We could we could go out and we could run power left and power right and short pass left and short pass right, and we beat them by 35. Yeah, it
you're not wrong.
just at the end of the day, it is not going to have to be complex. It's not going to have to be anything. You can
Compound,
just
complex. Don't get me
line up,
started with.
and beat them every time.
So we got Landon here says he'd rather take a baseball bat to the shins every change of possession than hear that stupid rooster and sandstorm. Dude, you know what? I could not agree more. I listen. You could do anything to me, torture me. I don't care. That rooster was probably what the worst punishment ever would be. Like it's just beyond obnoxious. Like I don't really. I just don't. There's no words to explain it. Like I don't understand how anybody can go in there and think that it's okay to hear a rooster crow for 4 quarters and be like, yeah, yeah, I'm a Gamecock fan. Like, that's, listen, the power to those people is all I'm going to say.
For sure.
Just leaving that there. um, listen, my keys to the game is this: show up, get down to Columbia, show up, like get off the bus. Listen, offensive line probably going to piss down their leg the whole game. It don't matter who you put at D line. It just don't. I think the key here is literally just line up, like you said, execute, right? Play to your game, right? Play your game. Georgia's defense, we've saw through 2 games. They're up to the challenges, repeating kind of similar to what we saw last year, right? We've seen that. Just raise hell for 4 quarters, right? Give them hell, right? And make it unbearable. Make them, break their will, right? It's just the way it's got to be.
Yeah.
But I think even the D line, I think the linebackers have to play a key role here, though, if we're trying to be more serious. You look at guys like Nolan Smith coming off the edge. He's got to have a big game. He's got to have a big game. Him and Robert Beal have to have huge games here, keeping Spencer Rattler inside the pocket, containing him, because he does have the ability to extend plays with his legs, and that opens up pass plays down the field. If you're able to just keep him in the pocket, Zion Logue, Nazir Stackhouse will eat. Is all I'm going to say. Or if you want to get Smile Mondon or Pop Johnson, listen, Pop Johnson. I don't know if you saw this, guys, but Pop Johnson laid a damn hit on that Sanford quarterback. I love these disguised blitzes, right? Love it. Um, I think you have to have those guys playing a big game. I love our secondary so far. I know they have weapons. I'm not discrediting that, but I think it starts up front. That's your key to victory there. But offensively, I think you see our run game just just go. Arkansas ran the ball 295 yards. It's that simple. Yards into each game, right? 368 the first. Now this is just Stetson here. Stetson's passed for over 300. He threw for 300 against Sanford, 368 against Oregon. I'm just letting you know now. It's going to be a long day if we can balance our offense out. It's going to be a very, very long day.
And I agree. I mean, I think we will. I hate to say attempt to establish a run game, but I mean we will run the ball. But at the pace Stetson's thrown at, do not be surprised if you look up and he threw for 300 yards again. Like, I think it is something that Monken and even Kirby have bought into, that we may not be the prettiest offense in the world, but we're definitely moving towards a modernization of our offense. You know, if we we could easily throw the ball for 300 yards and run it for 200 yards on Saturday. I mean, that sounds bad, but it could happen.
I think you have to make a statement. I think you have to make a statement, and I think this is the way to do it. And Kirby, Todd Monken's all about exploiting mismatches. You would say. I'm not saying that their run defense is a problem. So, in my opinion, I think we'll kind of translate this over here. Players of the game, right? Players of the game. Kendall Milton will be your player of the game. I think Kendall Milton will be your player of the game, and he will have a field day, in my opinion. Because I'm not saying that they're not physical, but I think he's just more physical.
Give me Brock Bowers 2 touchdowns, player of the game for the offense.
2 touchdowns, Brock Bowers. Okay, that's offensive, right?
He's done his job. He's done what he's been asked. Missed a high throw last weekend for a touchdown. It's time to get the best tight end in all of college football. A little bit of end zone love. So I see him catching one in the red zone, then I see him breaking one, maybe 40 yards for a second score. So
it's going to be interesting, right? Because you have to understand too that South Carolina's missing a few key players here, and that will pose some problems because Mokaba, I think Cam Smith is questionable. Yeah. That's their best cornerback.
Well, yeah, their best linebacker, their best defensive lineman, and then are both out, and then their best cornerback is questionable to doubtful. I mean,
yeah, that's not a good problem to have by any means. Obviously, you can't predict these injuries, right? You just can't. However, you look at right, you just got to play through it. But it's not going to be like I said with those injuries. Those were some key pieces I think Georgia had to really focus on, and now you don't have to worry about it, right? Still think you have to focus on the team and understand that, right? That listen, 2019 happened. 2019 happened. So the complacency,
same spread, same everything.
Yeah. So you have to be extremely careful here. You just do, right? You have to be careful because, and I think looking after the Sanford game, there's no question to me that I just know Kirby has preached over and over and gotten this into their heads so much about complacency. I feel like that's got to be one of the talking points this whole week leading up to it. Because let's be honest, if for those that watched the game, it was sloppy, and it makes sense that there could be some complacency, right? Going through the motions, you can't do that and expect to win a title, right? Look at what happened last year. We won a title, but there was no doubt, no slip up, no mental lapses, it seemed like, right? And it's crazy to say this, but even when Georgia plays a C game, if you will, you still dominate a team by 33 and pitch a shutout. That's scary, but now we need to refocus and stay focused. And if you do that, starting off with South Carolina, it's going to be an extremely, extremely long day. There's no question about that.
The big thing too is Samford's just a weird game in a lot of sense. We didn't look the best, but we've looked not the best in other small tier games in the past. And not saying we look the best. I mean, put up 33, didn't give up a touchdown. Yeah, it's a high standard we're holding ourselves to these days. I mean, but I agree. I think you see us roll into South Carolina. I think you maybe not try to make a huge statement, but you just still show that it's you and it's everybody else in the East. Like Beamer Ball, I have a lot of faith in Coach Beamer. And knew him here at Georgia, was under him for 2 years. Great guy. Think he's going to recruit well. To what level will South Carolina ever get back to, a 10-win club? I don't know. But he's doing things the right way over there. He's energizing the guys that are playing for him the right way. At the end of the day, he's just still a year or two away from being good across the entire board, like right now. Basically, his whole offensive line is a liability. You're not winning a lot of SEC games with a liability at offensive line.
Yeah, that's a big problem there. Very big problem. Period. There's no way to get around that.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's see. Do you want to go through some bold predictions, sir?
I would love to. Old Juan's running late on us.
I think we're having some technical difficulty on this platform, man, that we're streaming through. Apparently, he's in the lobby, but I have yet to see him pop up, and it makes no sense to me.
Hmm.
So we'll figure this out nonetheless. I think what we're going to do, Kobe, we're going to pull an audible here. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. And then from there, I think we're going to talk our picks. What do you think?
Okay, sounds good.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay.